one of the industries to be hardest hit by the COVID-19 pandemic has been tourism. But as the world slowly reopens, so is the industry. The Robben Island Museum is reporting that it has seen a sudden decline in tourists. For more on this, we're joined by a spokesperson for the museum, Melany Kuhn. Very good evening to you. Thank you for your time. You're saying that you're seeing a reduction of numbers. Talk to us about some of the observations.
Thank you for having me, and good evening to the viewers. So, you know, it's no secret that the tourism sector has been very hard hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. And at the start of the pandemic at Robben Island Museum, we saw visitor numbers decline by up to 95%. Now, that being said, we certainly have seen an increase in visitors as the tourism sector reopened, as borders across the world have reopened. So we've definitely seen an increase. That being said, though, while we are grateful that we are no longer where we used to be, we are definitely not yet where we want to be. And in getting from where we are now to where we want to be, therein lies the process of redeveloping our business model so that we are, in fact, better equipped to respond to a changing market.
And what are some of those options that you're considering in terms of strategy and looking at how you can be attractive to tourists?
So firstly, we need to understand who the market is and how it has changed so that we're actually able to develop and offer more products to put into the market. So what initially we only had a standard tour by bus. As of the 31st of December last year, we introduced the walking tour, which gives people a deeper and more meaningful engagement with our heritage. Because I also need to point out that our primary mandate is that of heritage and conservation rather than pure tourism. So in responding to the changes in the market, it is about understanding what those touch points are that we can create for people to engage with our heritage and to engage with the conservation element that we offer. So the process is not yet complete. We started roughly 3 months ago in terms of redeveloping the business model. We're well down the road, but it is a matter of really unpacking how best we respond to a market that is now fundamentally different. Yeah, it can never be business as usual.
It certainly cannot, but there is some encouragement that there is some form of path to recovery from the COVID-19 induced slump. Let's talk a little bit now about the actual market and how the dynamics have changed. We heard throughout the COVID-19 pandemic when, the president spoke about how South Africans should travel within their country. When it comes to the ratio of tourists that you had prior COVID-19, did you see more international or was it a balance of local and international visitors?
We certainly did see a huge influx of international visitors prior to the pandemic, and also part of the process of reintroducing Robben Island to new markets is that acute awareness of the role that the domestic market plays and having to package our products in a way that also speaks to that domestic market. And therein also lies the difference in price options that we have, where there is one price for international visitors and there is another set of prices for domestic visitors. Because I think in terms of the entire tourism sector, there's been a realization that domestic tourism now plays such a massive role in the economic recovery of the sector.
What about the seasonality of the tourism industry? I mean, we are heading into the colder months here in South Africa. Do you think that may have also played a factor?
Absolutely. We definitely, an offering like Robben Island Museum or like a trip to Robben Island Museum is of course also weather dependent, and we certainly see over the winter months the weather does play a significant role. So we do see the impact of decreased numbers during the winter months. But we're also using this time to strategize and create campaigns that will result in an increase when the season starts to spike through, between September, October, November. So we're using this time now to look at how we prepare for open season, if I can put it that way.
A few days ago, a group of experts within the tourism space came together to table some round table discussions, and they spoke about some of the steps that tourism players need to play, including going full board to promote South Africa as an attractive destination to both local and international travelers. I mean, do you think that perhaps you may be struggling with any of your previous services when it comes to, making visitors interested in visiting Robben Island?
I think it's very important that one stays relevant and that you keep evolving, that you keep offering fresh and new experiences. And that is part of our process of repackaging our offerings. And having introduced the walking tour, we've received incredibly positive feedback from people who have done both the standard tour and were then intrigued to come back and experience the island and the museum in a more engaging way, physically walking in the footsteps of those iconic struggle heroes who served so many sentences on Robben Island. So we certainly are realizing that you have to stay current. You have to adapt to the changing market. And part of competing for very limited surplus or disposable income will probably lie in collaboration as well, where I think a large focus previously was on competing. Part of that competitive process is also within healthy collaborations within the industry to package what Cape Town as a whole has to offer, both on the domestic and on the international front.
If you had to sell the Robben Island Museum, what would you say to those who may have never visited the museum before and could perhaps do a little short lift?
It is an engagement with South Africa and Africa's heritage and struggle history that is an amazing experience of really understanding the incredibly powerful triumph of the human spirit over adversity. And I think only with a visit to Robben Island in all its various touch points, which is so much more than just seeing Madiba's cell. That is, of course, a highlight for many people. But in terms of both heritage and conservation, marine biodiversity, wildlife on the island, and just understanding who those other magnificent struggle heroes are who played a role in shaping Africa and South Africa's liberation. That is the experience that you get through a visit to Robben Island Museum.
Thank you so much. Let's leave it there for now. Spokesperson for the museum, Robben Island Museum, Melany Kuhn, speaking to some of the attractive elements when it comes to visiting the Robben Island Museum and Robben Island in its entirety after, of course, the dent on tourism after the COVID-19, within the COVID-19 pandemic.